じゃあ99ページを読みましょう。Okay, so we're going to start at the top with making suggestions, these kinds of invitation sentences, okay? So, who wants to just read the example for us? You want to start here? Okay.
コーヒーを飲みませんか。
はい、コーヒーを飲みませんか？ Okay, じゃあ、シアラさん、1番、see a movie? 99ページです。
Here we go. See a movie. 映画を見ませんか？
はい、いいですね。じゃあ、ジェイミーさん、2番。
うちに来ませんか？
はい、いいですね。うちに来ませんか? Notice that when you're talking about your own house, you can just say uchi. You don't have to say watashi no uchi. You could, but generally, if you're talking about someone else's home, you would add the honorific o and turn it into ouchi. So if you just say uchi, it implies your own house. Whoa,
Oh, okay, thanks.
that was weird.
Oh, great. And this like that.
Man, I accepted my fate really bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, there we go. I guess the
Well,
recording probably
yeah.
stopped
You should
then.
still be going because of UPS.
Okay.
You might want to check on that.
Okay. わかりませんね。Okay, yeah, it's still showing that it's going, but that was weird. じゃあ、皆さんどうぞ。
テニスをしませんか？
はい、いいですね。じゃあ4番、河野さん。
晩ご飯を食べますか？食べませんか？
食べませんか？はい。じゃあ、大栗さん。
Why do I always get the examples that are the same as what I end up writing on the board? This happened yesterday too, but 図書館で勉強しませんか？
はい、いいですね。じゃあ、上杉さん。
うちにお茶を飲みませんか？
You skipped one.
Did I?
Yep, 6.
I did. Okay. I guess I'll do two. Okay. 喫茶店に話しませんか？
喫茶店. No. What was the other choice?
で
De, yes. Do you know why it's de instead of ni?
I'm a little confused on when we use
Okay.
they and when we use
Okay, when to use ni, if it's a time phrase, you use ni, right? If it's travel to a destination, going to a place, it's ni or et, right? But when it's an action that's going to happen at a certain place, it's de.
Okay, I was thinking that was like for present tense, basically, not so much like.
It's regardless of tense.
Okay.
So if you're going to talk at a coffee shop, it's not saying anything about traveling to the coffee shop, it's only talking about what's going to happen at the coffee shop,
Okay, got it.
right? So, 喫茶店で話しませんか? Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the clarification. I hope that makes sense for everybody.
That's
Okay.
that's nice.
Right. Okay, so de in this chapter, they're only teaching you one usage of de, and that is for an action that's happening at a particular location. Okay, it's not travel to the location, it's an event happening in that place. Make sense? Brandon-san?
Can we do 7?
Yeah.
Alright. うちでお茶を飲みませんか？
はい、いいですね。じゃあ、
音楽を聴きませんか？
There you go. 聞きませんか? 音楽を聴きませんか? Alright. いいですか? Any questions about those? じゃあ、ChantalさんとJulian san, you're going to read A and B of the example to start with.
日
日
日曜日。
日曜日に図書館で勉強しませんか？
はい。
いいですね。
はい。Okay, so that's the yes, I'd love to, or if you don't want to.
すみませんが、ちょっと。
Hi. Okay. So notice that because the polite way of saying no is ambiguous, you also have this situation where if you really do intend to say, no, I don't want anything to do with you, I don't want to be your friend, you're probably just going to be in a position of turning them down multiple times with something polite like sumimasen ga chotto, until they finally get the message. Because Japanese people culturally just don't like to come right out and say, no, I don't like you. So, just, I find that an important contrast to make, because Americans don't usually have as much of a problem with just coming right out and saying, no thanks. Nice idea, but no, not really interested. You know, so Japanese people are a lot more shy about saying that stuff, so you kind of have to be more patient. It goes both directions. Like if you're the one who really doesn't want a Coca-Cola, no matter how many times you're offered it, you're gonna have to tell people multiple times before they believe that you really don't want this cold Coca-Cola they're trying to get you to drink, you know, or coffee or tea or whatever it is that they happen to be offering as their attempt at being a good host. You know, and by the same token, if somebody else doesn't want something, they're going to be very circumspect about it. So you might have to read between the lines to realize that, you know, oh, she accepted what I offered her, but she really didn't want it, because look, it's still sitting there unopened. Okay, じゃあジュリアンさんとホーリーさん1番お願いします。
うちでコーヒーを飲みませんか？
せーの。
いいですね。
はい。じゃあ2番どうぞ。
うちで音楽、
いや、音楽。
音楽聴きません。
What's the particle? 音楽
を、
there you go.
音楽を聴きませんか？
はい、there you go.
すみませんが、ちょっと。
はい。there you go. Okay. じゃあ3番どうぞ。
映画を見ませんか？
いいですね。
じゃあ4番どうぞ。
土曜日にマクドでハンバーガーを食べませんか？
いいですね。
はい。いいですね。Okay.
Just going, this is the house, so uchi de, is that black tea?
Could be. 紅茶。
Yeah, cool. Okay, so uchi de, kocha, o, and then drink was, no, so nomimasu senka.
はい、いいですね。Okay, どうぞ。So you're answering him. 紅茶を飲みませんか？
いいですね。
はい。じゃあどうぞ6番。
アイスクリームを食べませんか？
すみませんが、ちょっと。
ああ、いいですね。はい。Any questions about those? How they work or what to do with any of that? Is everybody fairly comfortable with how to use the particles? Any questions about the particles? Because I know that's a big issue for most people.
Not on the particles, but if you were to say sumimasen ga chotto, do you have to do the like little?
Usually people do the little dot, 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 because otherwise,
It's really abrupt.
yeah. And verbally, people tend to draw out the final vowel a little bit. Sumimasen ga chotto.
Okay.
Yeah. and the dot 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 helps kind of convey that concept in
Okay.
writing. Sometimes in something like manga, they'll actually put an extension on the vowel
I was actually
there.
gonna ask that, if they put like the,
Yeah, they don't normally in regular print form, but in manga, or sometimes in quoted speech, if it's a very like colloquial speaking character in a novel or something, they might put it with a vowel extender on it.
oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's more common in manga just because that's so slangy and colloquial already.
Yeah, and it's just showing like the how they would be speaking was kind
Right.
of similar to.
Do you
Yeah.
mean by vowel extender like the one you would use with katakana? or-
Sometimes, you might see it with the hyphen looking thing. Yeah, it's possible that you would see like an oo, or like a little oo, or a little o even sometimes. Different people will play around with different ways of showing this person drew the vowel out when they said it. You know.
Would it be rude or redundant to add ano at the beginning before you say sumimasen ga?
It's not rude, it's like more hesitant, so in a way that's sort of more polite because you're sounding less sure of yourself in your refusal. So that does come across as a little bit gentler way to say no.
Instead of like a short answer that's just really
Right.
quick and stuff.
Yeah.
To me, it kind of reminds me as if like if you do that, then like you're thinking about your plans and then you say.
Yeah, that's possible too. すみませんがちょっと. Yeah, so works very well in that sense too, that it could be like you're thinking, okay, they said doyobi, what am I doing on doyobi? Oh yeah, I've got other plans, so, yeah. So that works. Yeah, you can put in the front there. Okay. If there are no more questions about how to do these kinds of invitations, let's do the next segment. Okay? So, 毎日本を読みます is using frequency expression. So remember the frequency adverbs that were introduced? 毎日, よく, 時々, あまり, 全然, things like that. If you flip the page real quick, they actually give you a little box with a reminder, and notice which ones are paired with what. So 毎日, よく, and 時々 all share what in common? They need to be used with a positive verb ending, right? So 毎日します, よくします, 時々します, right? If you want to use amari or zenzen, what do they have to be used with? A negative verb ending, so しません, 食べません, whatever. Make sense? Okay. So let's see. Okay, it's Audrey and Bethany's turn, right? Let's let you guys do the Q and the A for the example, and then we'll move on from there.
本を読みますか？よく読みます。
Or,
いいえ、あまり読みません。
right, so those are two examples of ways you can answer a question like that, right? So, 本を読みますか is literally just, do you read books, right? And so depending on your personal preference of how you want to answer, you can put different kind of frequency adverbs with it. Notice that you can leave out the object and object marker if you want to. Okay, so their examples just have the yes or no, the frequency adverb, and the verb. If you want to put the hon o part back in, you would keep that piece as a unit that can go either right before or right after the adjective, the adverb. So you can say, yoku hon o yomimasu, or hon o yoku yomimasu. Both of those options are equally acceptable. Make sense? And the way they showed it to you without the object is also fine. Notice that if you're leaving out the object, what else gets left out? The particle, right? Object and object marker stick together as a unit. They don't get split, and you can't drop one without dropping the other. Make sense? Okay, じゃあ、ベスニさん、you get to ask 1番 to Brandon.
スポーツをしました。スポーツをしました。
時々します。
はい、いいですね。じゃあ2番どうぞ。
雑誌を読みますか？
Sorry.
Okay. Are you getting stuck on how to form an answer?
No, I'm first trying to cover the question.
Okay.
もう一度言ってください。
雑誌を読みますか？
Okay, so what's zashi, first of all?
雑誌、
You can help them out.
it's magazine.
Magazines.
That's right, I did that earlier.
Okay, so zashi o yomimasu ka? So what's it
How
asking?
often do I read magazines?
Do you read magazines?
Oh, okay, sure.
And
Right,
so
we're
then it's
just
gonna
doing-
be either yes, I do, with an adverb that tells how often, or no, I don't, with an adverb that tells how infrequently. Okay?
Right, so, いえ、全然、全然よ、sorry.
If you look at the box, it's giving you the ending that you need for the negative ending. So you've got the yo part. Yomimasu is the
So
basic.
読みません。
There you go,
So,
yomimasen.
いえ、全然よ、
Yomimasen.
yeah.
はい、there you go. 全然読めません。はい。じゃあ次、3番お願いします。
家が、
3番、number 3。
Oh, sorry. 図書館に行きますか？
はい、図書館に行きますか？
時々行きます。
はい、いいですね。どうぞ。
映画を見ますか？
いえ、あまり見ません。
はい、いいですね。じゃあ5番どうぞ。
コーヒーを飲みますか？
飲みますか？
いいえ、コーヒーを全然飲みません。
はい、いいですね。じゃあ6番どうぞ。
日本の音楽を聞きません。
聞きます。
聞きますか？
はい。
時々聞きます。
はい、いいですね。じゃあ7番どうぞ。
朝ごはんを食べますか？
毎日食べます。
はい、毎日食べます。Notice there's no particle after 毎日。Good. はい。
How would you say that, like, usually I do this? Like,
You can use yoku, which is often, or you could use taite, which is more than yoku. Taite
Okay.
is like usual.
you don't use like a particle and you just, like, you start off with an and so usually,
Taite,
and the rest is.
and yeah, so like, taite asagohan o tabemasu. I usually eat breakfast.
Okay.
And what is Mainichi?
Mainichi is every day, daily.
Oh, Mainichi.
Yeah. The mai in mainichi means every, so mai ban would be every night. And then there are a variety of other compounds that get taught in later lessons that take my and some other time phrase. Okay? じゃあ moving on, まとめの練習. Let's try asking and answering questions in part A. So I think it was your turn, right?
何時に起きますか？
何時に起
Yeah,
きますか?
I'm just gonna make up an answer.
はい。
午前8時にです。Right?
午
Or
前8時に What's the verb again?
Oh, 起きます。
There you go. 8時に起きます。はい、午前8時に起きます。Yeah, you want to repeat back the same
I get
verb
up
too.
at, because you're already
Yeah.
talking to me, so I get up at that.
はい。
Yeah.
じゃあ2番どうぞ。
どこで勉強しますどこで勉強しますか？
学校で勉強します。
はい、いいですね。じゃあ3番どうぞ。
いつテレビを見ますか？
テレビをあまり見ません。
はい、there you go. いいですね。
スポーツをしますか？
スポーツをあまりしません。
はい。どうぞ、あまりしません。はい。じゃあ5番どうぞ。
週末はどこに行きますか？
うちに行きます。
はい。じゃあ6番どうぞ。
朝何を食べますか？ I'm still trying to.
Okay. So 朝 means
Morning.
morning, right? Nani o, what's nani?
That's what I'm trying to remember.
Who can remember nani?
What?
What? Okay, so nani o tabemasu ka?
Eat, yeah.
What do you eat in the morning?
Right.
Okay, so if you could say you eat breakfast, or
Yeah,
you
so
could
it was-
say
yeah.
bread, you
I was
know.
gonna ask if that was like kind of like breakfast. Like I feel like that's kind of like rude. Like oh, what
Yeah.
did you eat this morning? Like breakfast. Like what? What
Yeah,
else
well,
do I
we
eat?
don't know a lot of vocabulary words for breakfast foods yet, so.
I eat meat for breakfast.
Yeah.
朝ごはんです。
朝ごはん、
はい。朝ごはんです。
朝ごはんを
お、
食べます。
right.
Okay, so that's part of what we're practicing is keeping the same structure. Although it is sometimes possible to change the verb in your answer like you just did. For now, I want everybody using that parallel structure because it is the easiest way to be sure that you're answering the verb correctly. So,
So,
朝何を食べますか? 朝ごはんを食べます。
yeah.
Okay?
Sorry, I'm just
That's okay.
having trouble right now.
Yeah. Okay, じゃあどうぞ7番読んでください。Can you read 7?
Konban nani o shimasu ka?
4番お願いしますか。
私は寝ます。
はい、that works. Juichi, what's missing? Juichi-ji
Oh, G.
ni nemasu. You need the O clock and you need the particle ni also.
I said G in my head like 5
Yeah.
seconds before I read it, and then I didn't say it.
Yeah, that's funny. So, okay, so juichi-ji ni nemasu or juichi-ji goro nemasu, one or the other, right? You don't have to use ni if you're saying goro. You don't need goro if you said ni, right? But you need one or the other. And you do need the G suffix on the time, right? Everybody gets that? Unlike English, where we can kind of get away with just saying, oh, I sleep at 11. In Japanese, you really need the juichi-ji to sound right. It sounds odd in Japanese to just say the number without the o'clock or the years of age or whatever other suffix is normal for a particular kind of statement. It just sounds odd in Japanese to leave that off. Okay, so any questions about those? どうですか? Any questions? Okay. For part B, how many people actually have something that they came up with already for like 2 or 3 sentences? Okay, you've got one? Let
me pull it up real quick.
Okay.
今日は3時頃喫茶店へ行きます。
はい。
6時頃うちに帰ります。
Right. Okay, is that it, or did you have a little more?
3時半にコーヒーを飲みます。
Right, okay. Anybody else have a little mini paragraph that they came up with? Not yet? Okay, that's homework for next class. I'm gonna have everybody go around the room and read theirs. Okay, so come up with 3 to 5 sentences about things you're planning to do for, you know, that day, the next day, over the weekend. Should be pretty easy to come up with some ideas considering what's coming up this weekend. So, you know, I'm sure somebody can come up with, you know, something along the lines of candy o tabemasu.
I was wondering what you were
Yeah.
saying is
Oh.
coming
Yeah, I
up
was like,
this weekend.
what's going on?
Eats all the candy.
Yeah.
Forgot about Halloween.
Zenzen ame o tabemasen. Not likely.
Halloween, is that correct for home?
Hi, Halloween. Hi, Halloween. Yeah,
There's actually a thing on page, I think, 318.
yeah, where they
It's like,
show how to pronounce it, or how to spell it
Do
out.
they celebrate Halloween?
It's not common, but it's becoming more popular
not
to like dress up because cosplay is so popular there. I mean, they came up with the term cosplay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so,
Cosplay.
yeah, yeah, in katakana it's actually cosplay. Yeah, but it's, yeah, Halloween is becoming more popular in Japan, mostly just for the dressing up aspect. I don't know that there are that many places handing out candy, but,
I know that there are candy brands that do like special Halloween themed things, like Kit Kat is having like,
oh yeah, they probably have plenty of themed things that people go out and buy for themselves. Whether there are any shops or homes giving candy out is a different question.
Is their Halloween the same day ours is?
They copied it from us, so I would assume so.
Because I follow Tokyo Instagram where it just takes pictures of people around Tokyo, and there are
Yeah.
people dressing up for the whole month, honestly.
Yeah,
All
well,
month.
like I said, it's catching on recently,
Mhm.
and even in this country, there's all kinds of events these days leading up to Halloween, where, I mean, you've got Boo at the Zoo in downtown Melbourne and all this stuff where you can dress up in your costume multiple times before actual Halloween happens. And since the Japanese already have a traditional holiday for honoring the spirits of their ancestors, they don't need Halloween for that, so it's got no religious significance whatsoever for them. It's just for fun.
Have fun in your cosplay.
Yeah, it's just another excuse to have cosplay and ame, candy. So, yeah, even in this country, it's totally a secular holiday for 99.9% of people, right? But, there are those few people who actually think about or care about the honoring the spirits of your ancestors aspect of Halloween, because in this country, some people actually know that that was the original point of the holiday. A lot of people don't, but some people do. But in Japan, it's even more removed, because that was a European holiday, European tradition, pre-Christian tradition, and Japan is even further removed from any kind of pre-Christian, pagan, European traditions. So,
Apparently they use turnips before pumpkins.
what's that?
Apparently they use turnips and stuff before pumpkins.
Yeah, yeah, well, pumpkins are a North American gourd. I mean, the pumpkins that we use in this country, they're a North American plant. So, yeah, it makes sense that in Ireland and England, where Halloween was fairly popular once upon a time, that they would have been using something that was native to those countries. So, anyway, let's look at some kanji section for a little while. We're gonna come back to some of the other Makumen or Nenshu stuff. Does anyone have questions on how to write any of the kanji or how to read any of the kanji for this lesson? We're looking at 298 page.
Would we expect you to know the kanji for the vocab that we all know?
Not the whole list. So these are the kanji you're responsible for.
Okay.
These 15, okay? The ones that are in your vocab list are FYI. They're in there for the sake of people who want to learn more kanji than just the required ones.
Will they help us later on with this?
Oh, yeah, I mean, they're not necessarily gonna come up, like, a few of them come up in the next chapter. A bunch of them won't come up for a long time yet. But it's up to you. If you wanna look ahead and see, oh yeah, those few, like, Nichiyobi, Goyobi, those are gonna come up.
So I should like memorize like the kanji, like the verbs and like the.
You don't have to yet, because they're coming up in lesson 4, a few of those. And a bunch of them won't come up for a long time yet. But if you want to work ahead a little bit, you're certainly free to. I don't.
Because when I started this, I made note cards and they're all in kanji, and then I was like, you don't have to know that yet. I'm like, what? Oh.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah,
assumed that
so
we had to know.
these are the only kanji that you're actually required to know for now. Okay?
And the radicals?
The radicals I teach as a precursor to learning kanji, mostly just to help people learn their kanji. I'm not actually going to be including like a radicals list or anything on the chapter test. I just want you to know the radicals for the sake of their usefulness in learning things like, for example, G, which we broke it down. It's 3 radicals that you've learned. It's a whole heck of a lot easier to learn that kanji as, oh, it's the sun plus soil plus inch, rather than learning it as 13 random lines or whatever it is. Right.
I was gonna ask.
Okay, let me know if it comes to you.
I was curious, the kanji for, I think, is show and then like God and like right and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Is it the same one or? 'Cause they look really similar.
I believe God is that one, right?
Oh, well, we had like another one, I think. Maybe it wasn't God, but it was like something that was similar. I don't know.
Yeah, we can look at it another time.
Yeah.
But, yeah, to show is in that kanji, but, I mean, I don't really know the origins of that one in particular. Anyway, so if there's no questions about the kanji as individuals, yes.
The homework for knowing the radicals,
Yes.
that's still due on the
Yeah,
test?
the homework is due on the test day, because I do want you to be able to practice and be able to write the radicals, just for the sake of the preparation. Think about it as preparation for a whole, future of learning kanji if you're continuing on with Japanese beyond this semester. Because every chapter after this is gonna introduce around 14 more new kanji.
Now, is that the radical list with where we're supposed to, you want us to print it out?
Right, if you don't wanna print it out because it's got so much black ink on it, which was, I wasn't thinking about that when I made those photocopies. If you want to just like write each of those characters
Like
on 20 times on your own sheet of paper, that's okay. If you don't wanna waste that much black ink, I understand. So that is an alternative. I haven't gotten a chance to get a new, whiter version of that PDF uploaded yet. So if you wanna just do it on your own paper, that's fine.
The
Okay.
final page on the radicals list, was that just like extra?
That was
blocks
just
or-
extra practice space.
Okay.
So if you don't do that page, that's fine. Okay, okay, let's move to the next page and look at some of the kanji no renshu activities. Okay, so, let's see, whose turn was it? I forgot, I lost, okay, Bill's on.
Do you want me to do examples?
Hi,
I know what I'm doing, right?
just read the noun and then the price in Japanese. Chocolate. はい。チョコレート。300ページ。はい。はい、150円。はい、いいですね。Does everybody get where we are? はい。チョコレート150円。はい、じゃあ、ホリさん1番。
I have no idea what that is.
ハンカチ。So you just read the katakana first. Hankachi,
Hankachi,
and then
roku, tapyaku,
okay, ropyaku.
ropyaku, 50 yen. 50 yen.
はい、650円, which translates to
600? 650.
650 yen. はい. Notice that when they're writing the kanji numbers, they end with the kanji for n, right? When you're writing the digits, the symbol for yen precedes the digits, just like the dollar sign precedes the digits if you're writing a price in dollars. But if you're spelling out the amount in dollars, if you're writing the words, you would write out like the numbers $100, and you would spell out DOLLARS on the end, right? Okay, so it's the same thing, okay? If you're doing the digits, the symbol comes in front. If you're doing the spell out, that's the equivalent of doing it in kanji in Japanese, and then you put the kanji for yen on the end. There's
So should we just
that.
assume that from this point on, we should only use kanji for numbers?
I would prefer that you always use kanji for numbers from now on. It's
Makes
just,
sense.
it's good practice to always use your kanji numbers. And, unless they're asking you to translate from kanji into English. So that way, you're practicing your numbers, and that way, when you get to Japan and you see kanji numbers places, you won't have any trouble because you'll have practiced it so much that reading them will be easy.
Are these the same in Chinese?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the symbols for the numbers are about the same. The only one that can vary is the mon symbol is considered a simplified character. So in Taiwan, they actually use a different symbol for mon.
And they're all pronounced the same?
But no,
No? Okay.
entirely different pronunciations.
Okay, I didn't know.
With
I
the
don't
exception
know.
of san. Right.
Could you write out the order that you would use kanji to say 35,600, like,
So, the hiragana, because I have the hiragana version of it. So like you would do like
Okay, so,
each place value.
so you wanna, so like 35,000, you wanna know how you would do that in kanji?
yes.
Okay, sure. So it would, this, the 3 is in the man's place, right? So it would be sun, man, and then go, sen. That's it.
Okay.
You don't have to do the zeros. Just like in English, when you're saying this price, 35,000, you don't have to say 35,000 plus 3 zeros, right? The 1,000 kind of covers that for you. Make sense? Okay. So let's look at, so hankachi was 650 yen. じゃあ2番どうぞ。
sensu,
はい。
and that's 1,800 yen.
1,800 円。800. Okay, and that translates to,
1,800.
yeah, 1,800 yen, which sounds really expensive for a folding fan, so that must be a high quality one. You know, they come in all different levels of quality, from,
The
you know, cheap,
ones you get at Chinatown.
yeah, the cheap plasticky ones that sometimes businesses give them away because it's got their logo on it. Or like in Japan, there's 2 kinds of fans. The folding fans are called sensu, and then uchiwa are the ones that look like a paddle shape like that.
Oh, yeah.
And they've got the, you know, ribbing like that, and those sometimes have a company logo or something on them as well. So these sometimes, you know, the handle might be plastic and this part will be just cheap paper, but it's got a company logo or something on it, so they give it away. And so a lot of people will have those kind, and then the folding ones sometimes are cheap plastic or whatever also. And then, you know, depending on the quality, you can get some really fancy ones where the strong parts are all bamboo and the other part is cloth or high quality handmade paper or something. What's that? Yeah, sometimes with gorgeous design.
I don't like to be this person, but I also kind of want to know, do they have like a certain name for like the battle fans that they use? Like, you know, the ones that are like mostly blades? I don't know if they have.
I don't know
I
offhand.
figured not, but I kind of just wanted to know if you did.
Yeah.
It's like, just let it.
Yeah, I'm sure there probably is a special term for those, but I don't know it. I'm not really up on like a lot of the ninja accoutrements and things like that.
I thought I'd ask because I don't know.
Yeah, when I was in Japan, I studied Japanese dance, so I'm more knowledgeable about some of the kimono-related and fan-related things, because those were accessories that I actually worked with and used. I wore kimono for my performances when I danced,
cute.
so. Okay, so yeah, I own several kimono and all the accessories to put them together.
Wow,
So,
expensive.
yeah, well, some of them I bought used, because there was no way I was gonna afford to buy them new. And the cotton ones, some of them I bought new.
You should come in on Thursday, so it's like Halloween, but like.
I mean, my family has.
I haven't been feeling great this week, so.
Everyone should come in costume on Thursday. I'm just saying. I dare you.
Kabuki.
I don't have the full-on kabuki outfit, that required a wig, and they had to search high and low for makeup that was wide enough for me. Because they were trying to get my face wider than my neck, and everybody in the room had like, oh, this is really pale, here, this is a really pale one. It still made me darker than my neck. It was an interesting cultural experience to realize that no matter what they tried, they couldn't find a makeup that made me pale, because everything gave a little bit of a yellow tint. So anyway, okay, so sensu was 1,800 yen. Your turn.
昨日の71万 Yosen.
Yonsen.
Yonsen. Is it not
And-
Yosen?
No, it's yon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yonsen.
Hi.
That's 71,400 yen.
Not quite.
Or what did I say? 71,000.
It helps if you write it down. So you do the 71, right? And then the 4 is yonsen. So that's where the 1,000 is. So it's
Oh.
actually 714,000.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
I wrote it
Yeah, 'cause
wrong.
well, if you count it, remember how we did ichi, ju, hyaku, sen, and there's the mon here, and there's the jumon, right?
Yeah.
Nana, there's the nana, ju, ichiman, yonsen, like that, right? Does everybody see what I'm doing?
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's why it's so hard to translate these verbally, because you have to completely shift what you're saying, right? Because it's actually 714,000, right? Nanaju ichiman yonsen doesn't translate easily into English. You have to like write it down first and then rethink it from the other direction, from the other language, right?
Mhm.
So that's a silk kimono for sure,
Yeah.
that one, that kind of price tag. Because the way you guesstimate the price is just knock off 2 zeros.
Mhm.
So that's over $7,000 for a kimono.
Yeah.
That's gotta be pure silk for that price. And judging by the design on it and all, it's a formal one, it's a very formal one. There are different styles and levels of formality among kimono, so.
Like a tea ceremony?
That could be for tea ceremony. They did the sleeve length sort of ambiguous. It's hard to tell whether they meant it to be a furisode or not. Furisode are the ones where the kimono length is here, here's the waist, and, you know, the woman's hands are here. You know, here's the head, I'm terrible at drawing, but the sleeves hang down practically mid-calf. I've got one of those. They're specifically meant for single women. The long, extra long sleeves are very decorated, very colorful, and they're actually made expressly for flirting.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, it's supposed to be very attractive for a woman to be walking along with her kimono sleeves sort of waving a little bit in the breeze, and then she can wave them around and get people's attention with them. She can use the length of it to do something interesting, you know, like, oh, that's so sad, dabbing at her eyes with the sleeve of her kimono and stuff like that.
It's the single and ready to mingle.
Yes, exactly. And they are the most formal kimono for single women. And they are used, they're worn by single women who are attending someone else's wedding. They're worn for New Year's. They're worn for coming of age ceremony and other major holidays and such, when a young woman is of marriageable age but not yet married. And once she's married, that gets packed up and put in storage for her daughter to inherit someday, and she doesn't wear it again. And you don't just cut the sleeves off and make it into a married woman's kimono because of the expense of these things.
What is the typical age Japanese women get married?
It's changing,
It's been getting older.
but it's getting older, yeah, but, yeah, years ago, they used to say that a woman who was like Christmas cake was, you know, basically Christmas cake is good until the 25th, and after that it's sort of useless.
Wow.
So if she wasn't married by 25, she was Christmas cake.
Oh, wow.
And more recently, it's become New Year's cake. So like 30, 31, if she's not married by her early 30s, she's gonna be a spinster her whole life is kind of the stereotype. I think that age has gotten pushed up a little further, but just based on biology and the biological clock, I don't think it's gonna get pushed much past the mid-30s, just because for a lot of traditional Japanese families, part of the point of getting married is to be able to have kids, and if you're past the point of being able to have children easily, then to them, it's like, well, why bother now, it's too late, you know? So yeah, there is definitely a sort of a push from Japanese families to, hurry up and get married already, you're almost 30, you know? Guys have it easier, they can push it till about 40 before people start saying that they're over the hill. Yeah, but yeah, if a guy in Japan is 40 plus and not married yet, then it's all like, what's wrong with him, you know? So they kind of the same attitude, just guys get a little bit more time. What's that?
You guys have to mature.
Right. Okay, let's do terebi and yeah, if we can.
Juniman, San, Zen,
N, yeah. So Juniman Sanzen, and that translates as,
under 123,000.
yeah, right, 123,000 yen. So that's a fairly large screen TV right there. So,
家は3900万円です。
はい、3900万円ですね。
Is that 39 million or 390?
Okay, let's, okay, Sanzen, what was it, 900
Kiyok is a million.
So, yeah, so 100, so man is the 10,000 mark, right? So, ichi, ju, hyaku, sen, man, juman, hyakuman, right? So there's the hyakuman, 9 million. So sanzen would be 39 million yen, which if you take off 2 zeros to figure out about how much that is, so $390,000. So that, yeah, that is probably a fairly small 2-story house. That's like a 2 or 3 bedroom, but the bedrooms are teeny tiny size house, yeah. And that's somewhere in the suburbs of Japan, because if that were in downtown Tokyo, it would be 3 times that cost, or else 3 times as small.
It'd be 3 times that cost
We're gonna
and
go
be like
with
other
this
house.
Or
Yeah.
the push ones.
Yeah, what's that?
We were talking about how you would mow the yard, maintenance
Oh.
that, if you have weeds, just let it
The
go.
push one where when you push it, the blade just.
Yeah, well, a lot of Japanese gardens aren't a lawn at all. They'll be a Japanese style garden. Anybody's done and seen a Japanese style garden ever, where it's all like, you know, little manicured bushes and rocks with some artfully placed moss and stuff like that, and there's no lawn to speak of. There might be like little stepping stones through the cultivated plants and moss and flowers and things, so there's a place you can walk without destroying anything. But there's no like big expanse of grass to play soccer on or anything like that.
There's this really beautiful Japanese style garden over at a community college in, where was it?
Like those short people. That's maybe.
Oh,
Yeah, I went to one in
So,
San
like,
Diego. I
that house is
There's
like,
also the Morikami Museum down in South
Maybe-
Florida, which
what
is
would that be
really
called?
beautiful, and they've got some gorgeous gardens up there.
So,
I think it's a little bigger. Because the door,
We have like
the
bus
door is
rentals
like
and
the
stuff
size of
here.
a
Are there
ball.
like
Yeah,
people
yeah,
that
I
rental
don't
places?
Yes.
So like,
Yeah, in fact, most Japanese couples